Hi, this is Sarah here from Thriving Solo, and today we're going to take a look at a 15-minute weekly money routine. So this is tiny bookkeeping for busy clinicians, and this is one where I have definitely been here in the past. You finish clinic, you're tired, and you just don't want to be starting on paperwork for finances. And then tax time shows up, and suddenly you've got a whole lot of work to do. So, the idea of what I'm going through today is to make things simple, not fancy, something that you can do in 15 minutes a week. You can keep cash flow visible, avoid tax surprises, and make decisions with clean numbers. This, like I say, it's tiny bookkeeping, not a full fancy makeover. You don't need to love spreadsheets, you just need a repeatable ritual. And it does need to be repeatable, and it does need to be something that you are willing to do, ideally once a week. You really don't want to leave it longer than that because otherwise it piles up and it is a lot more work. So, this is a routine that fits real clinic life, short gaps, tired brains. I still recommend that you don't do this when you are really tired. It's one of those things that I think that you're much better off being able to do when you're fresh, because then the numbers will mean more to you and they'll help you work out where you're going forward for the rest of the week. So, like I say, for this video, my hope is to give you a weekly bookkeeping routine that you can stick to even in the busy weeks. Because catching up later leads to three different kinds of pain. It leads to cash flow pain because you don't always see quiet weeks coming and you may not be prepared for them. It creates tax pain because you forget what you owe until it's due. And it creates brain pain because the pile grows and it starts to feel pressured and personal, and so you put it off even longer and it gets worse. So weekly is small enough to be doable. It feels annoying but possible, I would hope. 2 hours, that starts to feel like more of a threat. Tiny weekly checks also stop that mind spin that you can have where your brain is telling you one story because it doesn't have facts and figures to actually work with, so it fills in the gaps itself, and most people then assume that it's worse than it is. Clean numbers help you price with confidence. If your costs are fuzzy, pricing becomes guesswork. If you know what you're spending, when you're spending it, you've got clean data to work with 1 week at a time, and so it becomes a lot easier to actually work out where you're headed that week. A weekly ritual protects your energy. You make fewer money decisions in panic mode, and that alone can reduce the stress in clinic. So what do we need before we set up? We're going to set this up once. You might want to tweak it, that's fine. Aim for good enough in week 1. You can improve it later after it's working. We're going to keep the setup simple because perfection is where routines go to die. If you're aiming for perfection, you'll never finish it, you'll never establish it as a routine. So the first thing is we want a one place rule. One home for money admin, and stick to it. One email folder for receipts and invoices. You might want to call it receipts to file. One cloud folder, if that's what you're using. You might want to call it bookkeeping 2026. One physical spot if you still get paper. a tray, not a drawer. We don't want it to pile up. Then decide your capture method. If you get paper receipts, snap them on your phone on the same day. If you get emailed receipts, forward them to the same place. So that's something that should be happening as they come in. That way you don't have to go looking for them. You don't worry about where they got mislaid. You don't miss claiming them as tax deductibles. So that's really important. And just add one tiny boundary. No receipt goes into your handbag abyss or into different drawers, not even, a parking receipt. Have your one space and make sure that the receipts go there straight away. Now, the next thing is to create 3 buckets, even if it's just mental to start, mental buckets. So bucket 1 is spending. So this might be the business card, the clinic account. This is what goes out for supplies, rent, software, laundry, CPD. So any spending for the business is in this bucket. Bucket 2 is paying yourself, and this is important. So this is the regular transfer to you so that you can live like human. And then bucket 3 is tax and savings. Tax, whatever sales taxes there might be in your state or in your country, VAT if relevant, and a buffer for savings if you can manage it. This bucket keeps future you from sending angry emails to past you. Keep it flexible at first. If you've only got one bank account right now, that's fine. Buckets could be separate accounts later. They don't have to be. It could just be categories. So 3 buckets. Then we're going to need 4 tools that make this routine effortless. Sorry, I might need a quick swig of water. So 4 tools. Tool 1, a separate bank account. This might be a business bank account. It might be a personal bank account. Here in the UK, we can run a business as a sole trader, using a personal bank account. Check what the rules are wherever you are. But having a separate bank account makes things much, much clearer. If you can't do this yet, then at least tag business transactions carefully. Tool 2 is some sort of bookkeeping app or a spreadsheet that you'll actually open. Use whatever you will use, not what looks impressive. Make sure that you've got something that you can track your funds with. Tool 3 is some sort of receipt capture. Now, to be quite honest, a phone scan works fine, or your bookkeeping's app receipt feature if you've got one. Like I say, a phone scan is perfectly okay. The best system is one that you remember. Most of us have got our phones with us all the time. I genuinely think that that's probably the best thing. And then tool 4 is a repeating calendar appointment. Same day, same time, preferably. Set it for 15 minutes and end on time. That way your brain acknowledges that this is something that is doable. If you say it's going to be 15 minutes and then you keep going, either because you've made things too complicated, or simply because you're getting to know the software, then your brain feels tricked and it won't work. So, like I say, set a timer a recurring scheduled appointment for 15 minutes and stick to it. Now, there's a few little optional extras that you could go for if you want to add a little of extra calm. You might want to set up a separate tax savings account. Now, the bank account that business bank account, the bank account that I have got for business actually has a savings account attached. So that is really handy for me. And even a small weekly transfer helps. So we're going to come to looking at the metrics, what you need to track and what you should be doing in a later session. But today we're just looking at the money routine that we need to set up. So now we're going to go through it step by step, the 15-minute routine. So just think of it as any other clinical protocol. So any other routine that you've got in your clinic, this is the same thing, same steps each week so that your brain doesn't start negotiating. You know you have to do a clean, at least every week, probably after each client's been in. And it's the same thing. This is a weekly routine that needs setting up. First minute is setting the scene. Honestly, that's, it's just about getting your brain in the game. So open only what you need. Bank information, booking system if needed, bookkeeping app, receipt folder. Put your phone on Do Not Disturb. Don't try and answer emails and phone calls while you're doing this. It's a sprint. It's not a whole audit. So we can get it done in 15 minutes. You can get back to anybody after that 15 minutes. So next, we're going to clear the money inbox. So gather new items into one place. Any receipts from your phone, supplier invoices from email, any paper receipts that haven't already been snapped, better to do it as they come in. And just do a quick completeness check. Have I got receipts for this week's expenses? Am I missing any invoices from labs or suppliers? And if so, make a note to chase those up. Now, next step, minutes 5 to 10, we're going to categorize the transactions. This is the tiny bookkeeping part. All we want to do is match and categorize the week's transactions. So things like rent, supplies, software, merchant fees, laundry, insurance, CPD. Add a note to anything odd. If there's something that doesn't really fit very well in a category, then make sure that you note what it was for. So client refund, replacement linen, one-off repair to whatever it was. Flag anything unclear instead of stalling. If you can't place it in 10 seconds, mark it and move on. So you'll know, like I say, a note of what it is. And if you don't know what it is, then put that on the list to come back to. Keep a short questions for later list. And it might be things like ask accountant, check invoice, confirm if it's personal or business. So you know what you need to do. Minutes 10 to 12, we're going to just check cash flow in one glance. Look at your bank balance, then at your upcoming bills. What leaves the account before I get paid again? Check this week's income pattern. Did income drop? And do I know why? Was it a quiet week? Was I anticipating this? Was it fewer clients? More cancellations? Did I work fewer clinic days this week? If you track packages or prepaid sessions, note it. Money received isn't always money earned, so just be careful of that. If you're getting paid for a package, you're getting paid in advance for some other work, and you may have worked this week but been paid for it weeks ago as part of a package. So just be careful of that, be wary of it. And then minutes 12 to 14, do 2 transfers. Transfer 1, pay yourself. Pick a consistent amount if possible. Consistency beats perfect. Transfer 2 is your tax and buffer if you have one. Tax you should have. You should be putting aside a small amount. Even a small transfer is a win. In the UK, I knew that my tax was going to be 20%. Yes, we get a personal allowance. I didn't even count that personal allowance. I just put aside 20% of each week's earnings, so that I knew that I'd actually got that buffer by putting in the full 20%. So work out what it needs to be for you. If you don't know, then like I say, even a small amount, 10, 20% is at least reducing the amount that you're going to have to find when it comes to tax time. So if transfers aren't possible this week, still decide, write down a note of what you would have transferred so that you stay aware. If at all possible, in future weeks, try and make up that shortfall, but just keep track of it. Then finally, minute 14 to 15, close the loop so that next week is easier. Reconcile anything that's outstanding that's going to bother you later. One flagged transaction, one missing receipt, that's it. Write one sentence in a running note. So this week, income up, supplies higher, tax transfer done, whatever it might be, and end on time. You're building trust with yourself, not punishment. So there we have the 15-minute routine. This just keeps us ticking over, and like I say, we're going to come back and take a look at what metrics we need to run on this so that we know where we are each week. But this is what will give you the data that you need. So if you've got this done, great. If you've already got this set up, brilliant. Are you tracking it weekly? If you haven't, then take some time out this week to get this set up and make a start. Put it in your schedule so that you can make sure that you do the 15-minute routine every week. Okay? And like I say, I'll be back soon with what we do with this information. But for now, it's important to be monitoring it so that you know exactly where you are. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you again soon.